This is Capturing Light, episode number 157 with Sydney Lawson.
Welcome to Capturing Light, a director of photographers podcast, spotlighting cinematography tips, tools, and techniques, inspiring and educating filmmakers like you so you can illuminate your vision. And now, your host, Les Gaddis.
Welcome to the Capturing Light podcast, boys and girls. I'm your host, Les Gaddis, and today I am talking to a dear, dear friend, none other than Sydney Lawson, who is one of my peers, a fellow at the American Film Institute, where we are both currently going. Sid is awesome. I spent a lot of time with her, learning, growing, and I was like, you know what? We should talk on the podcast because you're awesome. You're talented. You have features and things coming out and out already, and like, I want to watch your stuff and learn from you and grow. It's been cool getting to know her personally at school, but also too, like, I feel like this conversation is really, really cool to just talk to her, and as you listen, you kind of understand how real she is and how great of an artist she is. I really enjoyed the conversation. I think you will too. Here is that conversation with Sydney Lawson. All right, so I want to thank
Yeah.
Sid Lawson for coming on the Capture Light podcast. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, Les.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk to you. One, because you are an AFI fellow right now, currently, and you are scheduled to graduate in 26. Um, and it's interesting because now that we talk about it, this might be literally the first time ever that I say on the podcast that I am also a current AFI fellow and graduated in 26. I feel like I put that everywhere else besides the podcast. So, spoiler alert to anyone that didn't realize that I left Dallas and am currently living in Los Angeles and attending AFI. But Sid, I'm so excited to talk to you. I feel like I know you like family because we spend so much time together. But for those that don't know you, where are you from? How did you get started in the film industry?
First off, congrats, AFI,
Yeah,
brothers in arms. It's real hard work, and we're getting through it together.
there you
So
go.
that's awesome. Where am I from? I'm from Ohio. Sorry, what was the other question?
And how did you get started, like in the industry? Like, how did that all take place?
Yeah, I went to undergrad school at the Ohio State University, and I was in between becoming an engineer and doing theater. And that's when I found my dream job, which was a cinematographer, because you sort of deal with both the technical side of things and getting to solve problems and figure figure things out in a very math-minded way, but also getting to explore art. I think the cinematographer path is the one that I found that's most in between those two. And I got to use my first DSLR in undergrad and got a job as a videographer. And every time I touched a camera, I just felt so much at home. I didn't really come from a world where filmmaking and photography was ever a thing. And so it felt like when I found it in college and figured out what a cinematographer was, I just never looked back. It all felt right. And I knew it was going to be really hard, but I am the type of person who uh, was always in like 12 different organizations in school. I just love being involved in things and I love doing things. So I love projects. So after undergrad, I had jobs as videographers for companies and did a lot of freelancing, just whatever crew work I could find in Ohio. Um, Worked for a lot of corporate companies as their videographer, and then also as a camera assistant, a grip, an electrician on video content. Ohio has a pretty good commercial industry, so a lot of commercial work in Columbus, Ohio, and whenever I could, I made short films with friends and colleagues that I met. I was just always trying to have a creative project going. And after, I guess, 6 years of being out of undergrad, it turned into this awesome little career that I have that I'm building. And um, then I got into AFI this this year, and the rest is history.
So yeah, it's interesting. So like in like once you finished your undergrad and you started doing, cinematography, um like when did you feel like um you were getting images that you were happy with?
Always with my own camera, I felt happy with images, and I think that's important that I learned pretty early on that you can never control the images that you get. You can never fully control them. You're always going to be shooting them, and then an editor's going to get them, or when they go out there, it's never going to be exactly how you want it. So I always found solace in the fact that I could just take my own photo camera out there and have my own images.
Hmm.
Um, but that's a real thing is working through a lot of barriers because you might have a good eye, but in order to execute that on set and find the images that you know are right, it takes a lot of work and it takes a lot of experience. Um, so yeah, it took me a while. I think I'm still trying to find the images that I really like and trying to find the confidence and strength to trust myself when I know that things are going in a direction where the image is not going to look correct. Um, so yeah, it's been a process. I think sometimes I'm always surprised by images that I thought were gonna look like dog shit, and then I look at them in a scene and I'm like, okay, this was actually right. Maybe the director was onto something. Maybe they are.
Hmm.
No, um, but and then sometimes I'm pretty disappointed by a scene. So I feel like there's no certain time. It's always been a non-linear path, and what keeps me going is those moments of joy when as a team we've all worked together to create like an awesome image. Maybe it's like there's only one in a project that I love, but then I've been able to take the highlights and put those on my reel. And luckily we don't have to put the bad things on our reels.
Right, yeah, it's all about curation.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. And you have quite a bit of experience, like with you've done features. I mean, you've talked about your commercial experience. You've used like so many different cameras and everything. Um, do you feel like more you're focused on the process over the technical, like and when I say the process, like the actual storytelling process versus like the technical, because it feels like, at least when I go to your website and I see, okay, you've done features, you talk about your commercial experience, it seems like you've done a lot, and I mean it's all great images. So I guess my question to sum it up is, why film school if you already have features, like you already have experience? Why AFI?
Yeah, totally. It's exactly that. It's storytelling. I got to a point in my career where I looked around and I saw what I was doing, and I noticed the same issue that I had within myself, which is that I can make pretty pictures and I can execute something. I can execute an image and a film production on set, but I can't necessarily create a good visual storytelling arc. And I think it's really easy with our generation to pick up a camera and shoot anything and make it look really good. We live in, like, I love that we live in such a democratic age of the filmmaking technology and anyone can shoot something. And I love that new voices are being heard and new perspectives are being told. And I think that's so exciting. But I think as a cinematographer, it's really easy to get caught up in just only making things look pretty. And I really want to challenge myself to be able to uh, be so technically minded that I can create a cohesive visual language for the length of a feature film. I think we're getting so much better at that at AFI, which is
Hmm.
exciting. But then be able to create images that serve a story instead of serving fluff, because it's always been about story for me going to college. I connected so much with I majored in film studies in undergrad, and I connected so much with learning about the history of cinema and learning about story. And the whole reason I do all of this is so that I can cry and I can make people cry
Hmm.
or laugh, or like I think there's an unspoken power of cinema to change people's minds. I grew up in a very small town with people who have very narrow-minded views, and I always loved that cinema and TV can help you think about the world in different ways, and you don't really even actively realize it because you're just enjoying entertainment. So all
Hmm.
that is to say, I don't want to. I don't want to be shooting commercials forever.
Hmm.
I want to be able to work on the projects that are fulfilling and that can hope to achieve that one day, which I think is why everyone wants to do storytelling.
Right, for sure. And so you have a new feature that just premiered, and that's out, I think, for people to check out and rent, called The Holiday Club. Can you talk a little bit first about like how you got brought onto that project, like the beginning stages of that?
Yeah, there's a company in Ohio called Good Deed Entertainment, and they are this awesome company who primarily does distribution for indie projects, but they have recently been getting into production. And I worked with them as a cinematographer for a few horror movies, and those were my first feature films. And I've always just been so lucky that they have brought me on and given me these wonderful opportunities. But they had a new film coming up that they wanted to shoot with the writer, actor, editor, director Alexandra Swarens, who this was my first time meeting with her and working with her, and they introduced us, and this was at the beginning of last year, actually, so
Hmm.
pretty recent. Um, and I met Allie, and like we immediately hit it off. We both have the same general goal, which is to just tell filmmaking stories of queer joy. Um, and so from there, I was in, and we had the project set for an April production. I moved to LA in March, and then I had met Allie before that, but I moved to LA in March, and that's when she lives in LA as well. Um, Allie is Alexandra. Uh,
Hmm. Okay.
But when I got to LA in March, we just immediately started shortlisting and prepping. And then we both flew back to Ohio in April and sh shot the movie over the course of 13 days. And then we came back to LA. So yeah, it's just Good Deed Entertainment, this awesome production company, got the project going. And yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. And so you shot for 13 days. What was the crew size like for a feature like this? Was it relatively small or like how much help did you have?
Yeah, we had a camera assistant and a second AC. And then we had a gaffer, key grip, and a swing for Jeannie. Um, Yeah, it was a little tight. I think it was helpful having a small crew size for the sake of being in tight locations. I think the only thing that could have helped if we had had more crew would be like maybe pre-rigging in existing locations, but a lot of the locations were like you get it on the day and that's it. Um, so I think it was a good crew size for the space and for what we were trying to accomplish. That's back in the days when I was working with LED lights.
Yeah.
I really miss those. Um, at AFI now we have to use hot lights, which is I'm so glad we're learning that,
Right.
and we're not allowed to use LEDs at all in our first year. But I'm just thinking back on this feature film and how nice it was to have LED lights where we didn't have to use a generator. We could just plug them into the walls and like very quickly get a
Yeah.
look, which I think is uh the only way you can do a 13-day production
Right.
efficiently and
Yeah, you could
safely.
actually hold the lights.
Yeah.
That's funny. That's awesome. What was like your camera package and your lensing choices for it?
Yeah, we were really lucky. Shout out to SenCam in Columbus, Ohio. They're a camera rental house, and they hooked us up with just the best package ever. They were so accommodating. They said, "Yeah, as long as we're not using it or nobody else is using it for this set of 3 weeks, go for it." And so I got to test some cameras and lenses with them, and we went with the Alexa Mini,
Mm-hmm.
with the Leica glass, like a Summicron C, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And it was my first time testing Leica, and we tested it with a few other pieces of glass, like the Cokes, Sigmas.
Mm-hmm.
And the director, Ali, she didn't really want filtration, but one of the references was like the 70s soft film texture look with just like warm ambience overall, kind of like let's see, Annie Hall was a reference. Um, So, and testing lenses, I looked at all of them, and the Leica kind of gave you an inherently soft
Mm-hmm.
look, and like there's like diffusion without there being diffusion. There's a tiny bit of halation, but it was like a soft enough look that I think out of the box it was nice, and then we wouldn't have to like the level of filtration would is similar throughout all of the lenses in that package. So it was something that was easy to maintain because it was just in the lenses and you didn't have to calculate it as the film goes on. So
Mm-hmm.
that helps with the time frame. Yeah, so we had the Mini and the Leicas, and then they hooked us up with a standard camera package of like the Mitchell mount um, sticks
Mm-hmm.
and Dana Dolly. We had the doorway dolly for a few shots because we had some dolly shots. Um, but otherwise, it's pretty much the camera package that we get at AFI, which is nice.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
uh,
That's cool. So when you were filming for these 13 days, was there like a moment that either was like on set, offset, or like a moment while you were filming that really stood out as like I love the fact that I'm here working on this project. I'm supposed to be doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Like this was confirmation. Like what was, I guess, your favorite moment or experience while working on the Holiday Club?
Definitely, like every day, I had that feeling. It was such a joyous set, such a great. Alexandra Sorens is really good at creating a healthy, positive environment on a film set, in which is not always the case, especially when you're moving very quickly. Um, I think my favorite moment was when we were filming the kiss scene because it's like this is what it's about. This is something that as a viewer I love to watch these movies because I'm just always looking for like happy gay movies. Um, and when we were filming it, uh, the actors would sometimes look over and ask for my opinion, and it just felt so cool to be not only did I like get to have a heavy hand in like the look of it and how we filmed it, but then they were also asking of like my take, and I got to be like, well, if I was watching this, like I would want a little more attention here. Um, so it was just so cool to be a creative contributor and get to make something that as a viewer I actually love to watch. So that was an awesome moment.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm looking forward to checking it out. I've only seen the trailer. And Kaz, my wife, is such a fan of Christmas movies. So we will definitely check it out for sure. I wanted to come to the premiere, but AFI life, You
Oh
know?
yeah. I could almost not make the premiere because I was so busy. So
Yeah.
I thank you, but yeah, it's been chaos.
That's funny. So I have a few final questions. Uh, so I usually ask people what next. Um, and I'm still gonna ask you, but I know at least for the next year and a half you're gonna be, you're gonna be at AFI. But uh, let's just say after AFI, what are your plans? What are your goals? Like where do you want to kind of land in the industry?
Yeah, I think it's gonna be definitely a balance of trying to just continue doing what I'm doing, network with as many directors as I can. I love shooting small indie movies. I would love to see a world where I just keep doing that and growing my skills and putting what I learned at AFI to the test. But then I also would love to be on paid commercial jobs
Hmm.
uh, to make a living again. I can't wait to make a living again.
Yeah.
I miss that. But yeah, I think indie films would be a dream. And then also, I'm very open to whatever comes along. I even like leaving LA. I am loving LA, but I'm open to just like whatever opportunities come my way, and just hopefully continuing to challenge myself and grow and pursue whatever comes along. That's such a
Right.
vague answer. I'm sorry.
No, it's awesome. And I mean, it's interesting hearing your responses because I feel like if I were interviewed, it'd kind of be the same.
Hmm.
Especially too, I mean, being in the same class and just like there's a lot of similarities in like what we've done and everything too. So one of the last questions that I have is, so there is um a person that we don't know that might be following you and they're looking at your, website and they're so like excited about like being able to chat with you because they're just starting out in their journey as a cinematographer. Um, what would you tell that excited person that's just starting out that looks at your website, looks at your work, and wants some advice from you?
Mm. Yeah, I think everybody's so different. Everyone has their own journey and their own path. For me, it is a lot of doubting myself. I'm a very anxious person. And what I've learned in the past 6 to 7 years on this journey is that everything is a lot better when I trust myself and I believe in myself. And I've gone through a lot of therapy even as well, like both for career things and personal things. And there's for me, and this is different for everyone, but for me, there's like a little monster in my brain lying to me a lot, who's telling me that I'm not good enough or like it's making me second guess all of my decisions. And what helps for me is reminding myself that I've done a lot of work to get here. I am never going to be perfect, but I've done these things before and I have a lot of experience, and I should trust that version of myself when I'm not sure what to do, or if I'm worried about what other people are going to think about me or a shot that I set up. I I have a lot of past Sydney informing what future and current Sydney is doing. And I, even at AFI, I've had moments where I've doubted myself,
Hmm.
and I maybe not listened to other people but I've like, I've let other people's thoughts about something outweigh like my gut.
Hmm.
And in those moments, I've really regretted that. So I'm trying more and more every day to get better about trusting myself and not worrying about the anxiety or listening to the brain in my or the bad part of my brain that's lying to me and telling me I'm not good enough, because that doesn't serve anything to doubt myself. I think no matter what, you have to believe in yourself, and that's hard, and it's not always going to be there every day, but the more I do, the better I feel, and I think the better I get.
Right. No, that's awesome. Yeah. Like trusting your instincts, trusting your gut, like That's so much of like great artistry, truly.
And it's
Um,
not something that just comes naturally. It's something you have to work on and you have to
right,
challenge yourself with.
for sure. Because it's so easy to get caught up in, you know, the sauce, get caught up in what other people are doing or like other influences. So like staying like authentic and true to yourself and your intentions is so good. Um, so how can people keep up with what you're doing? Where's the best place for people to kind of like follow you, see what you got going on?
Yeah, best place for me is my Instagram. I always keep that updated with the work I got going on. It's at Sid Lawson DP on Instagram.
Okay, perfect. And then your website is sidlawsondp.com
SidLawson.com.
or
It's just
sidlawson.com.
SidLawson.com. Yeah.
Got it. Okay, perfect. And then we want to encourage people to check out the Holiday Club. Yeah,
Yeah, you can go rent the Holiday Club on Tello, Tello. It's a streaming service for sapphic content, which is really cool.
that's awesome. Cool. Well, Sid, thanks so much for taking some time on your break to talk to a fellow about your work.
Yeah, thanks for doing this work on your break.
So again, I want to thank Sid for coming on the Capturing Light podcast. Be sure to follow her, keep up with what she's doing. Yeah, and be better. Like continue learning, continue growing. Like if you feel like you need therapy even, like get therapy. You're not alone. Like yeah, I really love that we went there too. So make sure that you're okay first, and be creative. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me at Les Gaddis on Instagram. You can reach out to me. My email, info at gaddisvisuals.com or less at gaddisvisuals.com is a great way to reach out to me via email. And I think that's all I have for now. Thank you, friends, for listening to the Capturing Light podcast. And I'll catch you in a little bit on the next episode. Have a good one. Thanks for listening to Capturing Light with Les Gaddis, a director of photographers podcast. Inspiring and educating filmmakers like you so you can illuminate your vision. A Gaddis Visuals production.